I'm embarrassed to say this as someone who was born and raised in Oklahoma, but I feel like we can be honest with each other. Late last year, I read my first John Steinbeck book. The book, The Grapes of Wrath. Ready for another confession? I watched John Ford's 1940 adaptation for the first time last month. I know I am a failure as a reader, a cinephile, an Oklahoman, maybe a man. But if you're still with us, this got me thinking about a new series called Book versus Film, where I compare and contrast a book and its film adaptation. For me, The Grapes of Wrath seemed like a perfect place to start. So let's begin with the things the book and film share in common. First and foremost, the film is largely faithful to the plot of the first two-thirds of the novel. What is missing from the film are Steinbeck's essays between some of the chapters that ground the story in the land and the struggle of the Great Depression. Both versions follow the Joad family as they leave Oklahoma for the promised land of California. The core characters of Tom Joad, Ma Joad, and Jim Casey are largely the same. Much of their motivations and dialogue are the same. The death of Grandpa and Grandma, the rival at Hoovervilles, and the clashes between corrupt deputies and strikebreakers remain central to both the book and the film. Finally, both the book and the film highlight the dehumanization of migrant workers and the struggle for dignity. Now, the major differences between the book and the film. John Steinbeck was a liberal, and director John Ford was a conservative. Much of Steinbeck's biting political critiques are missing from the film version. For me, as a fellow liberal, this softening of the story may have made it a much more enjoyable film for a wider audience, but it sort of paints over the causes of the human tragedy that was the Great Depression. The book ends on a haunting, controversial, and deeply symbolic note. The movie ends on a much more hopeful note. The book's ending feels more realistic to me, while the film made me think of Reagan and speeches about our best days being in front of us. Next, I found myself missing Steinbeck's essays between chapters. They give the story a necessary grounding, and they give it context, and they expose hardships in ways many of us who are far removed from this decade in American history might have a hard time understanding today. Next, the timeline is reversed in the film from the book. In the book, the Joads flee a clean government camp to go to a violent and miserable peach orchard. In the film, they flee the peach orchard to go to the government camp. The film really wants to end on a hopeful note, so the reversal makes sense when you look at it through this lens. Finally, the book is overtly revolutionary. Jim Casey's philosophy that there is no individual soul and only one big soul that belongs to everyone is a clear nod to collectivist and socialist ideas of the era. While the film is overtly sympathetic to the poor, it leans more into American perseverance. It focuses on the strength of the family unit rather than the necessity of a workers' revolution. So, which do I prefer? Well, the book, for sure. I found myself missing Steinbeck's opinions and his political criticisms. My grandmother remained in Oklahoma during the Depression and the Dust Bowl. While Steinbeck wrote about a family that flees, I felt like he also saw and understood people like my grandmother and her family. The film version's ending is just too hopeful for me to appreciate. And that is the first version of book versus film. I enjoyed doing that, and I hope you enjoyed it too. I promise to do it again sometime, but I do want to hear from you. If you've read the book and watched the film, The Grapes of Wrath, which one did you like best? Let me know in the comments below. And while you are giving that some thought, be sure to follow along by subscribing or hitting that follow button. Until next time, be good to each other.